Warning: the following reading contains content that some listeners may find disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. It was about midday when 5 ponies exited the train to a village just a few miles north of Las Pegasus. Salt Bastion and Orange Earth Pony looked around at the local town ponies.
Where is the rental cottage? I thought we were supposed to meet the head stallion Granite Slab here at the station.
Salt Bastion said as he scanned the ponies miling around.
Maybe he couldn't make the journey here and he is still at the mansion?
Lemon Cream said next to him as she munched up one of the apple tarts from her bakery. Lemon Cream was a red Pegasus mare who was skeptical of things and had a lemon Danish for a cutie mark.
Perhaps, but even if he did, he would have some pony else come and get us.
Salt said as he scanned the ponies there.
You mean like that one?
Paper Edge said as she pointed to a scrawny stallion standing next to a door holding a sign that read Salt Bastion. Salt coughed.
Yeah, I suppose we should go talk to him and go to this mansion.
He said as he walked up to the figure.
Hello?
The stallion stared at Salt with pin-pricked eyes and looked like he was about to jump out of his own skin, but nonetheless, he tried to speak to Salt and his friends. Oh, hello. Are you Salt Bastion? The stallion asked with the sign shaking in his hoof so much that it looked like the sign would fall out. Salt put his hoof on the sign and the vibration slowed down.
Yes, I am. What is your name?
Salt Bastion asked. The stallion took a gulp. My name is Squeaky Mouse, but please call me Squeaks. The master does it, he said as he looked behind him as if expecting someone to be there. Salt blinked and smiled.
Oh, okay, Squeaks. Well, as you already know, my name is Salt Bastion. The 2 mares with me are Lemon Cream and Paper Edge. We still have 2 others exiting the train, and when they do...
You shouldn't have come here, Squeaks said in a hushed voice, cutting Salt off.
Excuse me?
Salt asked. Get back on your train and go home. This is not a good town, and he is not a good stallion, Squeaks said, looking around again as his tremors came back. The 3 ponies looked at each other before looking at him.
I am sorry, but I think we can look out for ourselves.
Lemon Cream said as she eyed the milling ponies at the station.
Can you get our cart so we can go to the cottage?
Squeaks sighed and nodded. Yes, ma'am. And it is actually a mansion, but don't say I didn't warn you, he said as he turned to go around to the front. As he left, Lemon turned to look at the other 2.
You don't think he was being serious, do you? Like, are we trotting into something bad?
She asked.
What's bad?
A voice said behind Salt Bastion and Paper Edge. They turned to see their 2 final friends, Peppermint Stick and Green Stalk, walk up to them. Peppermint Stick was a Pegasus mare who worked in the same bakery as Lemon Cream and had 2 crossing candy canes for a cutie mark. Green Stalk was a gray unicorn who worked a wheat field near their town and had a bundle of hay with a sickle for a cutie mark.
Oh, nothing. Saltier is just being salty that we're going to have a bad time on our trip. Aren't you, Salty?
Lemon Cream asked as she bumped flanks with Salt Bastion, who could do nothing but blush furiously. He tried to play it off as best as he could, but everyone knew they were an item.
Not now, Lemon. We need to get our bags and get to the cart. Do you want this trip to be over before it even begins?
Salt Bastion asked. Lemon huffed.
You are no fun,
she said as she turned and trotted to the counter handing out baggage. Green Stalk trotted up to Salt Bastion.
Anyway, what were you talking about? Something bad?
He asked. Salt Bastion shrugged.
Nothing big. This short stallion we met that is going to take us to the mansion said that we shouldn't be here. That the head stallion we are supposed to meet is some pony bad. but I bet it is nothing. If anything, he is a bad-tempered stallion who expects us to be in bed an hour before midnight or something ridiculous like that.
He said. Stalk snorted.
Well, maybe he has a forbidden room of inflatable mares he plays with that he doesn't want us in.
He said. Salt nearly choked from holding in laughter.
Oh, come on! That is uncalled for! I am just saying we should be careful in this place. For all we know, this place might be falling apart in some ways. You don't want to fall through a floorboard, do you?
Salt asked, and Grain shook his head.
No, of course not. Anyway, let's get our luggage to the car and get to the place we will be staying at.
Grain said, and the group got their stuff before going to load the cart and making their way to the mansion with Squeaks. It was about a 20-minute trot from the station out of the town and up into the mountains that they finally found the mansion. It was a huge brown 3-story building with several chairs on the porch and an upper balcony. As they walked up, they saw an elderly stallion get up from a rocking chair and make his way to the porch railing with the stairs.
Oh! That must be Granite Slab, the stallion who owns this place!
Bastion said as he trotted ahead of the rest of the group.
Hello, Mr. Slab. My name is Bastion, and these are my friends. We are here renting the mansion for the holiday.
Salt said, pulling out the reservation scroll he received when he made the deal on this place. Salt was not sure why he got it so cheap, but dismissed it when Granite told him that it was a holiday special and would only be available for a brief period. Not wanting to skip out on the opportunity, Bastion accepted the offer, and 2 weeks later, he and his friends were on a train bound for this place. The elderly stallion looked at him and then lightly glanced to the side of Salt. Blinking, Salt turned and looked behind him as if expecting someone right behind him, but his friends and Squeaks were all the way back to the gates.
You have a nice cutie mark,
The stallion told him in a rasping voice. While it was a nice compliment, it did not stop a small cold shiver running up Salt's spine. Bastion's cutie mark was a mound in which one side was white like salt and the other side was a deep brown like the side of a mountain. Also, there was an image of a pickaxe behind it.
Thanks.
Salt said as he looked back at his friends. He looked at Granite, who gestured inside.
We had better get inside. Celestia's sun is setting, and the night is young. We have much work to do.
He said, and every pony trotted inside. Inside was a large lobby with many chairs and couches spread out all over the place. The place looked rustic, and if it was not for the fact that this place was freshly painted, they might have mistaken it for being decades old.
If you will follow me, please, I will show you to the common area, dining area, and your rooms.
Granite said, and all too eagerly, the 3 mares followed him, almost eager to see what their beds would look like to them. Bastion looked at the walls, hanging lanterns, and furniture. Something was off about this place. Something that was the opposite of feeling cozy and welcome.
Hey, Grain?
Salt asked and saw that Grain Stalk was also inspecting the walls.
Yeah?
Grain asked.
Do you feel that? I don't know, there is just this weird atmosphere that seems to say...
That we don't belong here?
Grain asked, both cutting him off and finishing his sentence.
Yeah, the pony taking our stuff to our room said that we should go home. But I thought he was just being ridiculous. Do you think we should have listened to this warning?
Salt asked. Grain Stalk looked around more and then lightly picked at a crack on the wall.
I don't think we really have anything to worry about, but we should keep our guard up. This place gives me the creeps. Not to mention the head stallion's greeting indicating a cutie mark is not something I would consider comforting.
He said as they tried to catch up with the 4 ponies ahead of them.
I agree. Do you think we should look around this place and see if Squeaks is overreacting? Or if we really do need to get out of here?
Salt asked.
Maybe, but we should listen to Granite's rules. To see where we can't go, and then go there.
Grain said, and Bastion grinned and nodded. Together, they listened to the lecture Granite was giving to the mares with him.
Breakfast is served in our dining room at 7:30 in the morning, and dinner is served at 6 in the afternoon. We have apples throughout the day if you need lunch, and the attic and basements are off limits. Mostly because the attic is falling apart despite renovations, and the basement... Well, be honest, are any of you here to see the basement?
Granite Slab asked. Despite the whole group shaking their heads to agree with him, Bastion had other ideas. As they reached the end of a hallway with two doors, one with the blue stripe on it and the other with a pink stripe on it, Granite raised his left hoof to gesture at them.
These will be your rooms during your stay here. Please feel free to make yourselves at home. Squeaks will be by soon with your luggage so you can settle in more and explore the place. Just remember what I said, and I expect you all to be in your rooms by sunset. Until then, you have free roam of my home and surrounding woods. I would keep away from the nearby shed behind the house, as it has some sharp equipment, and I would not wish to call a doctor because you are not careful where you put your hooves, wouldn't you say?
He asked. Lemon Cream nodded.
Yes, sir. We will keep our hooves to ourselves.
She said, and Granite nodded and turned away, but not before letting his eyes land on her cutie mark. Salt noticed that gesture and narrowed his eyes.
What was he doing looking at our marks?
Salt thought as they watched the stallion slowly move down the hallway and move around the corner. Before he could say anything, Paper cut open the door to the mayor's bedroom.
Hey, they have bunk beds here! I call dibs on the top bunk!
Papercut said, and Peppermint Stick huffed.
No fair! You always get the top bunk! I want it this time!
She said as she raced inside to try and get to the bed bunk first.
Come on, girls, you have to share. Let's start with Papercut up tonight, and Peppermint can be up tomorrow?
Lemon Cream said before following them inside and stopping at the door looking at Salt and Grain.
Why don't you two get settled in, and then we will go for a hike after breakfast?
Both stallions looked at each other and they smiled at Lemon. She smiled and disappeared inside their room. Bastion sighed and then looked at Grain Stalk.
Well, let's get this over with and go see our room.
Salt said and pushed the door to the blue room. He thought it was covered with dust, but thankfully it was clean and dust-free. But of course that was to be expected, as when one offers a place for others to stay, it would be rude to put them somewhere untouched. There were 5 bunk beds there and 3 desks with chairs. Salt was about to ask why they needed so many beds, but then again these might have been the only rooms currently available to them. Grain tested the softness of one of the beds and then grinned before hopping on the bunk and sighing in relief.
You know, I don't know why I made such a big fuss about this place. I love this bed. Also, I claim top bug!
Grain said, almost singing the praises. Saul grumbled as he climbed into the lower bunk and stared at the upper bunk where his friend lay.
As much as I want to agree with you about this, I still feel like this place has a bad vibe. Like we shouldn't be here and we need to watch our backs.
Salt said as he rested on his pillow.
Great idea! You can start with watching mine right now.
Grain said and Salt snorted as he knew what Grain meant.
Whatever.
Salt said and then sat up as he heard a knock on the door. Opening it, he saw Squeaks alongside their bags. Hello, sir. I have brought your items from the cart. Would you like me to bring them inside your room? Squeaks asked.
That won't be necessary.
Grainstalk said as his horn glowed and the bags levitated in the room and put them on the far side of the bunk beds. Salt was about to turn to close the door when he saw Squeaks hold up a small envelope. Your room keys, sir. Squeaks said.
Oh, well, thank you.
Salt said and tried to take the envelope, but Squeaks still held a small grip on them. You really should take a closer look at them and make sure they are yours. It would be a shame if they weren't and you couldn't get back into the room. Squeaks said, letting go of the small envelope and disappearing down the hallway. Salt Bastion watched him go before looking at the envelope.
What was that about?
Grain stalked ass from atop of the bunk bed.
I don't know.
Salt said as he looked down at the heavy envelope in his hoof.
But whatever it is, he seems to really want us to look at these keys.
Salt Bastion closed the door and took the envelope over to one of the desks. Opening it and turning it upside down, 2 room keys came tumbling out and clanging as they hit the desk. Salt looked at them closely, even turning one over and over in his hooves, but other than a little metal rust, it looked like a normal key. Huffing, he then looked into a small envelope and discovered a small piece of paper folded and tucked into the back of the corner of the envelope. Shaking the envelope a little more, the piece of paper came dislodged and fell on the desk next to the keys.
Is this what he wanted me to find?
Salt asked as he opened the paper and read the hastily scribbled words on the paper.
Please, you have to get out of here. The master is not a kind pony. He makes ponies disappear and hurts me if I say anything in his presence. He and others want to do something in the basement and it is terrifying. I know you want to have a fun holiday, but I beg you, do it somewhere else. Please get out of here while you still can. There is not much time left.
Salt Bastion looked up from the note and back at the door.
Why would he write something so creepy? It sounds like he is playing Granite Slab as some sort of serial killer from one of the horror movies we watch back home.
He asked. Grain put a hoof to his chin.
Maybe he is just scared of working with an old stallion, and this creaky building can play tricks on him.
Grain replied. Salt shook his head.
But that wouldn't explain his claim that ponies disappear. Why would he say such a thing if the place is messing with him?
He asked as he climbed into the lower bunk, leaving the note on the table.
I don't know. Maybe he has mental problems that he needs medication for. Anyway, why are you asking me?
Grain asked from the top bunk.
Because I want to know what you think in case his warning is real. I mean, disappearances? Other ponies? Not much time? What is he talking about?
Salt asked.
I think that you should close your eyes and make this a tomorrow problem. I'm going to bed. I will talk to you in the morning.
Grain said, ending their conversation. Salt Bastion sighed and looked at a painting on the wall, perfectly depicting the same mansion in the blue of luminous light from a nearby window.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Salt said and closed his eyes. The night passed slowly as Salt Bastion heard creaks all over the room, but it was hard to distinguish which creaks might have been the mansion and what might have been a pony made. He was not sure why they would have been made by a pony, but it sounded like a hoof step. When he finally fell asleep, he looked back at the painting and in one of the windows there was a pony with a sad, mournful face. Salt Bastion woke up the following morning feeling a little rested. Other than the unusual squeaks around the room, he really could not complain. Getting up from the bed, Salt looked at the table with the envelope and keys to discover that the warning note was not there. Thinking that maybe the note fell on the floor, Salt got off the bed and looked on the floor under the table, under the surrounding bunk beds, and in the general vicinity. He even looked in the back edges of the room.
What are you looking for?
Grain Stalk asked as his head poked up from the top bunk.
I could have sworn that I left the note from Squeaks here on the desk. And now it is gone. Where could it be?
Salt asked as he looked around.
Did you check under the desk?
Grain asked as he scratched his chin.
That was the first thing I checked when the note was not on the desk.
Salt said as he looked around and then at the painting he saw last night. Not only was the pony in the manor window gone, but the painting was tilted.
That's odd.
He got up and trotted over and fixed it on the wall.
There we go.
And how would you know? What if that painting is a covering of a secret basement?
Grain asked. Salt face-hoofed.
Grain, have you been reading those detective stories again? You know there is no such thing as secret basements or secret lock or anything like that.
He said.
How would you know? This mansion has to be a couple decades old, maybe even 100 years. Maybe there is. Maybe the noises we heard last night was Granite Slab walking behind false walls and looking at us, looking at the mares. Maybe that is how the note disappeared. While we were sleeping, he crept in and swiped it in the dead of night.
Grain said as he looked at the wall with the painting as well as the other walls. Salt grit his teeth as he looked up at the speculating stallion.
Will you please stop that? There are no fake walls, no secret attic, no creeping stallion, and no mystery. There is just an old stallion in an old home renting it to ponies who want a good holiday. What's wrong with that? I swear to Celestia, you are so into your detective stories that we had you leave back home that... Wait, did you bring some with you?
He asked as he noticed a corner of a book peek from under the pillow of the top of the bed.
What? I mean, no, but...
Grain said, but Salt shook his head.
For Celestia's sake, just leave it here and we can be on our way.
Salt said and left the room. As he left, Bastion saw that the mayor's bedroom door was open and the room was empty except for their luggage.
I guess they are already up.
Salt said and made his way to the dining room. As Salt walked in, he saw Lemon Cream and Paper Edge eating some apple fritters for breakfast. Looking around, he saw that there was a lack of a mare in the room.
Good morning. Where is Peppermint Stick?
He asked. Lemon looked at him.
Hello, and we are not sure now, but when we woke up, Mr. Granite Slab told us that she woke up earlier, and he asked her to accompany Squeaks to the market, because they were unfortunately out of things like strawberries.
She said. Salt nodded.
Well, I guess that makes sense. You can't prepare for guests without something missing. Maybe she will be back as we are putting up the heart-warming tree.
He said. The two mares nodded and Grain Stalk walked in behind Salt.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, do I smell muffins?
Grain asked. Salt rolled his eyes.
Yeah, you do.
He said, and they sat down to eat. After breakfast, Salt got up from the table and looked to the living room where he saw a tree stand on a pedestal. Bastion made his way towards the heartwarming Eve tree. Lemon Cream and the others followed suit.
You go on ahead. I think I'm gonna go back to the room and rest for a minute.
Papercut said, making Salt raise an eyebrow.
But you just got up. You can't go back to sleep now.
Salt said, but Paper shook her head.
It's only gonna be for a moment. Besides, Peppermint is going to be back soon too. We can wait for her while we set up the tree.
She said. As much as Salt didn't want to admit it, it was okay to start on the tree while waiting for the mares to return. Paper went off to the mare's bedroom and the other three started on the tree. It wasn't until 2 hours later that they finished putting up the tree that Salt looked around.
Where's Peppermint? Or Papercut? It's not like them to not help us. And Papercut said that she needed a small nap. She would be back by now, right?
Salt said as he started to head to the mayor's bedroom. A voice from the kitchen drew his attention.
They'll be back soon. In the meantime, though, I think you gentle colts and mares have earned a reward for making that tree so beautiful.
Granite Slab said as he came into the living room with a tray of hot chocolate on his back.
I don't think it will be a cheat if I get something for setting up the tree, will it?
Lemon Cream asked as she took a mug of the delicious-smelling drink.
I suppose, but I really think I should go see how Papercut is doing.
Bastion said as he looked at the remaining cup.
Fine, but she or Peppermint don't get any of this hot chocolate. We worked on this tree.
Lemon said as she passed the last mug to Salt.
Let's make a cheer to the holiday, and then you can go check in on her.
Bastion nodded and raised his mug.
To the holiday, and to many smiles to come.
He said.
Cheers!
The other two said, and they clanked the mugs and drank. Out of the corner of his eye, Salt saw Granite Slab watch them drink with a smile on his face, but something was off. It was not the kind of smile of someone with fulfillment, but rather someone with something unsettling. Something that made Salt shift uncomfortably. Salt drank it halfway before putting the mug down as opposed to the other two who drank all the hot drink.
Anyway, I should go see Papercut.
He said as he headed to the hallway.
Sounds good. Don't take too long now.
Grain said as he hopped on the couch and let out a long yawn. Salt thought it was weird as it was almost midday and there was no reason for them to think about a nap. As he walked down the hallway, he felt the floor start to shift and he even had the urge to let out a yawn.
What is going on?
He asked as he got closer to the door. Salt saw something that got his curiosity. A small bit of hair was poking out from the doorway. Curious as he was, he staggered over to it as he felt his energy leaving him. Why was he so exhausted? It didn't make any sense. However, when he arrived at the door, he saw that the hair was connected to a tail that was connected to a body. Papercut had collapsed on the floor and wasn't moving.
Hey Papercut, are you okay?
Salt asked, nudging the mirror, but Papercut didn't move. His gaze then shifted to his own hoof that went out of focus for just a moment.
What is going on?
He asked himself. Then he looked at the door.
I need to get to the others.
Salt staggered out of the door and fell to the floor.
What is going on? Why am I so weak?
He asked as he crawled inch by inch back to the living room. When he got there, he saw his mare friend lying on the floor and Grain Stalk no longer on the couch. A rattle nearby caught his attention, and he lethargically turned his head to see Grain being dragged in a harness through a panel in the wall. On the other side of the harness was Granite Slab smiling at him.
You look tired. I really think you should rest.
Granite said as he dragged Grain out of view. Bastion tried to move more, but his body failed him, and his vision turned black. When he came to, Bastion found himself in a cell in what appears to be a basement.
Where am I?
Salt asked. You are in the Master's dungeon. He heard someone say and he gradually shifted his head to see Squeaks chained to a wall.
What happened?
Salt asked as he saw that he was chained to a small cart. He tried to pull free, but there was no chance of going anywhere. You didn't listen. I told you to leave, but you didn't listen, Squeaks said as he moved uselessly in his chains.
Please, I didn't know! How do I get out of here?
Salt asked as he pulled more frantically at all his chains from all directions that he could. You don't. You had a chance to get away. Now all you can do is wait to die. Just as I will die here too, Squeaks replied before turning his head and ending their conversation. Salt tried to get anything else out of him, but Squeaks was resigned to his fate. About 10 minutes later, a door opened and Granite Slab walked in to see Bastion still pulling on his chains.
Oh good, you're finally awake. Now we can have the final sacrifice.
Granite said as he opened Salt's cell and strapped himself to the cart.
Hey! What are you doing? Hey, let me go!
Salt screamed at Granite, who didn't seem to care.
I'm afraid I can't do that. You and your friend's marks are needed for the Master's return, and we cannot wait any longer or he might not return at all.
Granite said as he pulled Salt's cart out of the cell and over a bump, which when Salt looked back, his blood ran cold as it was not a rock or something alike, but bone and guts. This was not going to go well for him. Granite took him through corridor after corridor with rotting bodies of victims who had died in unknown and horrific ways. However, one feature stuck out to him above all others. All the bodies were missing their cutie marks. They were peeled right off the flanks and left to fester and rot. Something came to the forefront of Bastion's mind as he looked at Granite Slab.
What did you mean when you said our marks?
Bastion asked.
You really think I gave you a good deal because I wanted to see some mares and stallions have a good time on the holiday? No. I wanted to have you for your marks. They are what is needed for my master's return.
He said as they entered a large chamber with several things around the room such as torches, pedestals, and a book on a table.
Look, I don't know what you want from me, but I am no pony!
Salt said as he continued to struggle again and again.
That is again where you are wrong. The only thing you can offer me is your cutie mark. I need it for my master's body.
Granite said as he stopped the cart and unharnessed himself from it. Trotting over to a crank, he pulled the wheel and several ropes connected to 4 covered cages. When the coverings were removed, Salt gasped in horror as he saw all 4 of his friends inside and in tremendous amounts of pain. All of them were cut up and maimed. Lemon Cream was forced over a pipe and 2 bars were driven straight through her forelegs. Paper Cut was stretched over a table with all 4 legs pulled out in all directions, and he was pretty sure they were going to pop right off. Peppermint Stick was washed off as her head was gone and several limbs were missing, and Stalk had a cleaver stuck in his back and was missing an eye. Worst of all, they were all missing their cutie marks as they were cut off and blood was coming out everywhere. Stalk looked up at Bastion with his one good eye.
I told you so. It was not over-imagining with the book. This was real.
He said, and his head fell on the bar where he was suspended above a set of spikes. There was blood everywhere, and Salt was sure a lot of it came from his friends.
You won't get away with this!
Salt said as he shouted at Granite Slab.
I'm pretty sure I will. Now prepare yourself for his arrival.
Granite Slab pulled a lever, and some chains pulled the cloak off a final table. Bastion watched in horror as the table displayed an entire pony body suit made entirely of cutie marks. There were different types of all kinds, and right there in the middle, surrounded by the cutie marks of his friends, was a hole that was the perfect shape of his cutie mark. Like some sick and twisted version of a jigsaw puzzle.
What is that?
Bastion asked.
Are you brain dead? I told you before that my master needs a form to enter this world. A form made entirely of symbols of everyone's purpose of living.
Granite Slab said and then picked up a rusty and blood-covered knife as well as some sharp scissors. Salt saw what was about to happen and began frantically pulling on his bindings.
No! You can't take my mark! You have no right!
Salt pulled again and again on his bindings, but he achieved nothing.
I can, and I will. Now hold still. This won't take long.
Granite said, and then he went to work. The pain was absolute for poor Bastion as his flesh was cut and he screamed again and again as his cutie mark was forcibly cut from his body. It felt like hours as the old stallion cut slowly and deliberately to make sure the mark came off completely intact. The blood gushed from the wound and Salt was beginning to lose consciousness again, this time in a very bad way. Once his prized cutie mark was removed from him, Granite Slab took the mark to the bodysuit and started to stitch it into place. Salt could only watch as the skin suit was finished and brought to the middle of the room.
Now that the body is complete, we need something to fill it with.
Granite said as he went and picked the book up from his pedestal. He opened it and started to recite a dark hymn from it. It didn't take long for Salt to start hearing chittering coming from several sewage drains and then saw hundreds of beetles and cockroaches appear in hordes from them.
Welcome, my friends. Now cast off your shells and give my master life.
Granite said, and one by one all the bugs popped and died, but they didn't stay dead. The guts and bones of the creature sludged from the carcasses and formed into one disgusting and putrid sludge. Slowly, it crawled to and inside the skin suit. Salt hurled at the sight of something nasty while Granite continued his hymns. The sludge slipped fully inside the suit, and it shifted and budged as it tried to contain the revolting organism that was moving around. Then, before Salt's eyes, it started to stand up on all fours and twist in all manners of horror and repulsive ways. The creature now stretched its legs and body until it was 3 times the size of a normal pony. All of a sudden, Granite ceased his hymns and the entity froze in place.
Master?
Granite asked. It wasn't long until the eye sockets glowed a blood-red color and it looked at Granite.
Hungry,
was all it said.
Yes, Master.
Granite said as he pointed to Salt and his friends. Salt shook his head fast in fear, but the creature didn't listen. It wanted to eat, and it was going to feast one way or another. It lunged at him, and he screamed as he was eaten from the inside out. He was violated again and again.
Good, Master. And when you are done, you have a whole village waiting to serve you. One way or another.
Granite said as he watched his master feed. That night was one of the darkest nights in the village, filled with screams and bloody murder.
Master blesses us, everyone!